everybody. It's David and Nikki Nellis for Foodie the Beast, the D.C. area's one and only food and wine variety show.
And we have such a great show for you this week. The Lamb Jam is coming to town, and Nick Stefanelli and Craig Rogers are going to tell us all about it. And if you know about sustainability, then you know Barton Seaver. He's got a new book for Cod & Country. He's going to tell us what to cook up.
And Eric Platt and Paul Coldry are in talking about New Zealand wine. Stay tuned. We got a great show. Planet Wine. It's like having your own wine cellar right in the heart of Del Rey. More than 700 bottles of domestic and imported wines offer something for every occasion and budget. For fine wines and more, there's a whole planet. Planet Wine in Del Rey. And also back is our version of Alec Baldwin, Eric Platt, who's now VP and Director of Sales with Pacific Prime Wines. From New Zealand. Do you want to do the shout out to your wife so we can get it out of the way?
Let's get it out of the way.
Hi, honey. Happy birthday.
Hi, honey.
Happy Sunday.
I don't have to do that. Anyways, and he's in with tips and info to help us get to know these wines. And he brought with him Paul Coldry, all the way from Auckland, New Zealand. Paul is you're the senior VP with the company, correct?
That's right. Yeah. Good morning. Nice to be here.
Nice to have
you to come in. We love when people fly all the way in just to come on our show.
That's exactly what he did.
What a compliment. So, Paul, why are you here?
I'm here. I'm on a 3-week tour across the country, drinking wine and eating great food every day. And we're setting up distribution. We're a brand new company, and it's all owned by the wineries, so we're setting up distributors in around about 15 to 20 states.
And how many wines are in your
We have
new
five
group?
wineries.
Five wineries.
5 wineries from across the country, all the key growing regions of New Zealand.
And I wanted to ask, because you've got vineyards like My Vineyards from Hawke's Bay and other places. Are these going to be brand new tastes for most of the American audience?
They sure are, yeah. Some of these have been in the country before, a few years back, but this is predominantly new to most Americans.
And how did you go about picking your profile for that?
Well, they all had to be sustainable. They all had to be family owned and operated, and it had to be a good mix of wineries across the country. And also, of course, it's a given, they have to be great wines.
Right, of course, of course.
All right, so
what did you pour first?
Yeah.
Most importantly, what did you pour first?
Starting off with something that's perfect on a Sunday morning, Sunday brunch. It's from Lake Chalice Winery at the top of the South Island in Marlborough. It's 100% Sauvignon Blanc, and it's called Cracklin' Savvy.
Oh, I love
so
the
it's
name.
got a slight spritz to it.
Well, it's nice and cool. Not to put WFED in the ground this morning, but the air conditioning in the studio broke, so we're all in here.
It's a little warm in here.
I intend to lose even more weight this morning. Let's see what this tastes like.
Oh, there is a little effervescence
very nice.
on the end.
And this is something that hasn't been seen in the US before, a Cracklin' Sauvignon Blanc. So it's got all the varietal characters that you'd expect from a Sauvignon Blanc, but that's sparkling as well.
So what is it that provides the sparkling?
It is actually carbonation.
It is, okay.
Yeah, so it's not
It's part of the process.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Well, thank you very
All
much.
right, well, we are sipping and tasting. Let's move on to Nick and Craig. And Nick, I want to start off with, I learned an important fact about you, and I know you want me to tell you. You're a Lambassador.
I am.
So when they see you coming, do they go, Nick, like that? I mean, how does that work?
I haven't gotten that one yet. That was a new one.
Thank you. You can keep it.
I already heard it, just so you know.
There was 4 of us selected around the country to kind of represent the local movement of lamb, to really get people to understand and try to get them to buy a local domestic product that's close to home because of the freshness that you can get, and also the health benefits that lamb also offers as being a lean meat as well. So,
well, what is it about lamb that you don't think people know about? I mean,
I think a lot of people perceive it as being gamey. Maybe some mistreating the old lamb and mint jelly type thing, where it's a beautiful meat. It partakes to a lot of different flavors, just like beef would. So,
Do you think people get confused and actually put the mint jelly on the lamb while it's still in the pasture, and that could be...
I really can't speak on to those.
Go ahead.
But I think there's somebody here who could speak to that. We have in with us also today from Border Springs Farm, Craig Rogers. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Oh, what a pleasure and an honor this is.
Oh, well, honor, please.
Tell us about the farm.
Please.
We have a beautiful farm in the foothills of the Blue Ridge in very southern Virginia on the North Carolina border. We have about 700 ewes or mother sheep at the moment, and probably about 1,200 lambs on the ground. They graze the foothills of the Blue Ridge, and so we have 2 different types of flocks. We have a hair sheep flock. They actually shed their wool, known to be fairly lean. Not a lot of fat, and I think what we have found is that the flavor that most Americans don't care for when they think of lamb, or it was perhaps grandma's mutton,
Right.
and older sheep, and now we have
boiled, right, and boiled into submission too. So
precisely. And so lamb is less than a year old by definition. And what I've tried to do is to create a lamb that has a fat that's so sweet that you want to suck on it like bacon.
We actually make pancetta out of it in the restaurant.
What did you bring? What is this? I've been like eyeing this since you
This is
started
actually
plating
Craig
it.
Rogers' smoked lamb leg he does himself. And then in the jar we have a lamb rillette, which is the lamb shoulders are confit and then taken out and then mixed with some aromatic root vegetables, a little bit of the lamb fat and some lamb stock, and then mixed, emulsified together. So.
there's this incredible platter. We've talked a little bit about the lamb that's here. Tell us about everything else.
Well, it's a focaccia that we make in-house. You have some pickled vegetables that we rotate seasonally. We usually they accompany all our charcuterie dishes. Salsa verde, which is a parsley sauce made of anchovies, capers, white wine, and parsley.
It's so pretty.
It's
it looks
yummy.
like spring on the plate.
And it's kind of, we do a sandwich very similar to this, where we'll do a rillette on top of a piece of grilled country bread with a sliced lamb leg and salsa verde. So
For people who haven't been to Bibbiana, and I have, as I love to say, I lived in Italy for a couple of years.
No.
It's an Italian restaurant, but it's not your basic grandma's Italian restaurant. It's really a wonderful experience. It's like sort of new versions of Italian cuisine that you really have to try. It's just
Well, tell us what's going on at the restaurant. I mean, with the seasonality change. Tell us about some of the good
it's
things.
like the most exciting time of the year right now, where
Right.
you're coming into morels and ramps and peas and fava beans, and we're
Andy's making numb noises.
then we run into everybody's favorite season of tomatoes and strawberry. I mean, there's so much stuff that comes in the back door right now that this is what you wait for. So
with all your creative juices flowing and all this product that comes in, how often do you change what's on the menu? I mean,
we're
is it every
changing
day?
every day.
Just based on what's coming
with
in?
product, with what's available. I mean, there's so much stuff.
But isn't that hard for you? Because you have some dishes that people, I mean, I'm sure some
There's
of
been
your
some
regulars.
revolts in the streets where people have protested the changing of a dish. So
why not? It's happening everywhere else. Why not here? And why not for a better
It's
reason?
a compliment. It is a compliment. when
it
people
is,
really
and
love
I
something.
mean, you want to, if somebody comes back and is expecting, you want to have those dishes that people have come accustomed to love, but also, as the seasons grow and change, we're not going to have tomatoes on our menu in the middle of January because they don't taste like anything.
Right.
So when August comes around, like, people should be clamoring for this, because that's when the tomato
That's when it's
season
the
is.
best.
So,
Absolutely.
we try to use everything at its peak, and then we rotate from that, and there's that ebb and flow that consistently goes through the menu. So
Great. And Craig, you don't just do lamb. I mean, that's your main focus, but you have other animals on your property?
We have other animals, and one of my passions, more from a hobby point of view, however, is heritage poultry. So I have heritage turkeys, and I raise about 250, and they're...
So should I be putting in my order now? Am I too late? Am I too late?
This is the time. I suspect you have, I suspect you could find a way to the top of the list.
Excellent. I love that.
But
You back
Tell
up?
everybody where the farm is and how to find you online.
Right. please.
It's borderspringsfarm.com. We're in Southern Virginia in Patrick County on the North Carolina border, but probably the best way to find us is at restaurants like Bibbiana in 1789.
Oh, very nicely
Excellent.
done.
Love that.
All right, and
Nick?
Nick, tell again where Lamb Jam is May 22nd at the Ritz-Carlton. How do we get tickets?
fanoflamb.com. You can log on and buy your tickets there. 2
It's
to 5
fans.
o'clock.
I looked it up. Fans of Lamb.
Pardon me.
And I also, everything's on the list. I mean, we have everything on the list, areyouonit.com. And just tell everybody where Bibbiana is, please.
Corner of 12th and H.
Excellent. All right. Well,
Don't
thank
miss
you.
that.
Thank you both for sweating it out with us in here. This is David and Nikki Nellis with Foodie The Beast. We're getting very serious here. We're talking about sustainability, but we'll get a little silly and have some New Zealand wine as too. We'll be back
We're
in just a
silly.
sec. Bye.
The phrase neighborhood restaurant means convenience, but not necessarily style or good taste. But in DC's West End, Circle Bistro, Noti Bianche, and Dish Plus Drinks take neighborhood dining to new levels. Circle Bistro offers contemporary French-inspired cuisine. Dish has new twists on American classics. And Noti Bianche is the perfect Italian trattoria. The Kennedy Center is just steps away, so pre- and post-theater dining is enjoyable and convenient. Dish, Noti Bianche, and Circle Bistro. There's good taste in the neighborhood. We are back on Foodie and the Beast with David and Nikki Nellis, and a special guest just barged in. You know, sometimes when we do shout-outs to people, they just take it and enjoy it. But only David Hagedorn would rush down here to get more mic time. So What would he call you? He's a very talented former chef, former restaurateur who's a food writer for the Washington Post, and he's here with us doing what? I guess anytime there's free food, you're interested. Yeah, well, come on over here, boy, get some. All right, and we've got Barton Seaver in here. Barton, let's talk about the book, For Cod and Country. What was the impetus for writing it?
It's the culmination of 13 years in restaurant kitchens and really broadening the message of sustainability to a home audience. That sustainability is really just about delicious. It's about the opportunity we have to sit down with family and friends to have dinner and also have a commitment to our natural resources.
Well, you organized it by seasonality, and normally you think of like produce that way, but why? What does seasonality have to do with fish?
Well, seasonality with fish is oftentimes very complicated because most things are available most of the time.
Right.
But when we as consumers walk into a grocery store with a recipe preordained in mind, printed out, and we walk in demanding that salmon is there because that's our recipe, then we're demanding that the system provide something that might or might not be in sync with nature's course.
But we have been conditioned
to
do that. I mean,
absolutely,
I'm not
we've been conditioned.
taking
Well,
the
it's
blame
food on
off of
demand.
us, but we have been conditioned by the grocery stores to see a tomato.
Absolutely.
In January.
But 90% of cooking a good seafood dish is buying good seafood. And so if you walk into a store, the best thing you can do for the success of your dinner is to say to your fishmonger, hey, what do you got that's freshest, that's best, and best fits my wallet? And walk out with whatever's best.
Well, let me ask you a question about fishmongers, because, and not to name the store, but
we had to talk off air.
talk about one small specialty store where the prices are very high, and you would expect the fishmonger to know his stuff. And Nikki took him to school on some things on seafood sustainability. So where do these fishmongers get their educations? Just from experience and just from sort of hanging out around fish?
Yeah. And unfortunately,
like Luca Brasi,
Well, unfortunately, so many of the ideas of sustainability are so complicated. There's very few black and white, right or wrongs about sustainable seafood. And so a lot of it is left up to the real information exchange points, which are really this point of sale. And unfortunately, you have people... Yeah, and unfortunately, there isn't sort of one universal understanding of what is or is not sustainable. And that's being argued about. And so it's very difficult for fishmongers and retailers.
Let's help people out just a little bit. Definition-wise, according to Barton Seaver, what is considered a sustainable practice when it comes to ordering your fish?
Well, one of the better things that we can do is eat lower on the marine food chain.
Okay.
Most of our taste preferences are for very large, big predatory species. Swordfish, tuna shark, striped bass, bluefish. Now, I feature a lot of those in the book, and those are absolutely delicious fish. But a lot of the seafood that's lower on the food chain, oysters, clams, mussels, herring, mackerel, sardines, anchovies, wow, that's a great menu. If I walked into Bibiana and saw all those things, I'd say, sweet.
Gauntlet thrown down. Okay.
80% on the menu right
And those are a lot less environmentally costly.
He's a lamb master or lamb ambassador. He wouldn't know.
I don't mean to out you on selling seafood in your lamb restaurant there. But it's how we participate in our relationship with the oceans, and the smaller seafood, oysters. I mean, environmentalism on the half shell with a bottle of Tabasco and a 6-pack of beer. Awesome. That sounds like a good time to me.
But wait a minute, oysters, I mean, if you talk about the Chesapeake Bay, there are oyster sustainability issues too. So it's a question.
Well, they want to grow more oysters.
Well, 98% of the oysters we eat in this country are all farm raised.
Right.
And the wild oyster is such a sort of a figment of the past, really. So farmed oysters are great. Wild oysters do have their issues.
That's scary when you think about it.
98% in the bay.
Well, so what I also, in reading your book, because it does really read like a novel, I mean, you have great essays in there and really terrific commentary. One of the things I thought was very interesting is very much like the meat, not the meat industry, but sort of people who are really into local farming and sourcing locally and eating healthier. One of the things you sort of mentioned is that protein size should be smaller.
Absolutely.
That you should, that it is... And it's interesting to see that with fish, because you hear that a lot with meat, like put more vegetables on your plate, keep eating protein, but if you want to work with local farmers like Craig, you can't just have these big slabs of meat, and now you're saying that with fish too. I haven't heard anybody say that regarding fish before, so I just think it's interesting.
Well, we're never going to save the oceans by eating sustainable seafood alone.
Right.
We have to eat broccoli and quinoa and sweet potatoes and
broccoli.
And the people who are eating seafood, many people are now beginning to integrate seafood into their diet for the health aspects of it. With the omega-3s, the incredible lean sources of protein that we have, seafood really represents an opportunity for health. And part of that health message is a balanced diet full of diversified calories, taste, textures, and colors. And you know, that's what really makes cooking fun anyway.
Right.
When you walk into a restaurant, it's the...
Well, you don't cook, so you can't.
No, I'm not looking at you for that. Unfortunately, we've screwed up because we haven't spent enough time on the book, and I want to make sure everybody knows where to find For Cod and Country, and we're going to have to get you back here to talk about this.
Well, and I want to know, are you doing book signings anywhere?
We are actually tomorrow night out at Red, White, and Blue.
Oh, cool.
My great friend Heather Tidham.
Yes.
And her incredible husband James Roth.
So
are,
Red, White, and
hosting us.
Blue. It's Bleu.
Blah.
Blah.
The wine
Right.
store. James has been in before. He's awesome. So that's the wine store out in Virginia. That's a great place to be.
All right, so listen, we're going to have you back because there's more to talk about here.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
We do this about once a year. We're going to have to... I mean, if Hagedorn hadn't taken up all the time. So Barton Seaver For Cod and
And
Country.
he ate all the lamb.
And I'm going to assume we can find it on Amazon and in bookstores, pretty much
Yep.
everywhere.
Look, Politics and Prose, a great independent bookstore in
Great.
D.C. has
Are you doing
copies of it.
Are you going to be there doing a book signing too?
Not booked yet, but we're
Okay.
hoping to,
All right.
hoping to get in
We'll
there.
keep us
Now-
posted. Well, I don't know if you noticed, we have a new chef in studio with us. She's brought a variety of tasty.
Fantastic.
She's probably someone who want to try your wine.
Right, exactly.
Devon Capilli is the new executive chef at the Renaissance DuPont Circle. And let's start with a quick 411 on you. Where'd you come from?
My last assignment was, I'm coming from JW Marriott in Washington, D.C., and I was their senior banquet chef, and I've been at DuPont Circle Renaissance for 8 months now.
I suppose you would want an on-air review,
He means
wouldn't
pass
you?
the plate. That's his polite way of saying pass the plate.
Lobster roll.
Okay, so we do need to take a quick break, but when we come back, no, thank you. You're putting right in my face. When we come back, we're going to talk more about the
That
kinds of
is
things
yummy.
you're rolling out. This is David and Nikki Nellis with Foodie The Beast. We're going to be drinking more New Zealand wine, and we're going to be talking more about the M Bar at
And
the
we're going to have to talk
Renaissance.
about this mustard, too. This is delicious.
We'll be right back.
Planet Wine in Del Rey is more than just 700 great wines. There's also a stellar selection of craft beers picked by Greg Engert, one of Food & Wine's favorite beer experts, and artisan charcuterie from Red Apron. For fine wines, beers, and more, there's a whole planet. Planet Wine in Del Rey. All right, we're back on Foodie and the Beast with David and Nikki
Are you
Nellis.
choking on that because you just put
I
something
know, I'm
in
eating
your
a
mouth?
lobster. What is lobster? What do you call this?
Tempura.
Yeah,
That's very
damn,
nice.
that's good. I just want to do a quick shout out to the folks that make this show possible. First of all, our friends at Georgetown Bagel making the best bagels in town.
Hola.
They're over by River Road, over by the Whole Foods. Yum.
Yep.
Neighborhood Restaurant Group, our friends at Rustico and Evening Star in Tallulah and Columbia Firehouse, Birch and Barley. Also, our buddies over at Founding Farmers and Farmers and Fishers, great supporters of the show. And the people at Modus Hospitality, Noti Bianchi, Dish, Circle Bistro, and our newest sponsor, Charles Schwartz and Son Fine Jewelers. That's where Nikki's rings came from, and they're beautiful. Let's get a shot
But
of
I
those.
got them before.
Hello. There they are. All right, so Devon, let's go back to you. We were talking during the break about, even though there are some restaurants in town in hotels that are considered local dining destinations, it's still kind of a foreign concept. But that's really where you're headed, aren't you? It's not just for guests.
No, it's for the locals, definitely, to come and relax in their neighborhood atmosphere where they can just kick back and try some of our indigenous products as well as our local.
I mean, you're in a pretty
ingredients.
dense neighborhood there.
With that new apartment building right across the street.
Right.
There is a lot of residential
Exactly.
right around where you are.
Now, I want to talk about a couple of the other things that are in front of me.
Absolutely.
This
Your
tuna
tuna tartare.
It's got layers of avocado. I haven't seen one quite like that. It's beautiful.
This is one of our signature items that we will feature on the menu. It's our ahi tuna tartare with cilantro ponzu, and it's been layered. And,
I mean, that's a lot of tuna. That's a half a fish.
A lot of tuna.
Yeah, it's about 6 ounce tuna, ahi tuna, small diced, and it's been marinated.
You don't think you're getting out of here with that, do you?
No.
I didn't think you. I just don't want you to have any untoward expectations about making it to the door with that.
Right, and then it's layered with a homemade guacamole and a little bit of sesame seeds on top for garnish. And it comes with a wonton chips fried, or you can, healthy version would be vegetable crudité on the side for a substitute.
Personally, I like.
No, and who needs health? That's
need
what
that.
I say.
No, because the tuna tartare really, really speaks to me. I love tuna and avocado together. I just love the combination of that.
And I just want to say that health is highly overrated. So who cares? All right. Well, Devon, best of luck to you, and give the boys hell.
Yes.
Don't take any guff, and go down and try some of this great food at the Renaissance DuPont Circle. Yeah.
Thank you so
thank
much
you.
for bringing all this
thanks.
gorgeous food
Let's get
today.
back to Eric Platt and Paul Coldry. Guys, obviously we sort of got delayed gratification because we can't find the wines right now. But when we can, what will be the way to find them? Will they be in local wine shops?
Probably, Dave, I would say the best way, yes, local wine shops, better restaurants, but you can follow us. Check our website, ppw.co.nz.
Okay.
And also my email is eric@ppw.co.nz. And we'll have updates, and you can email me, and I have an email.
And you just joined
list.
Twitter.
I just joined Twitter.
Welcome to the world, Eric.
Right, what do you
Thank
got,
you for
20
joining
followers
Twitter.
now?
I'm not quite as far as Nikki is.
Mom, Dad, sis.
Just a few. Send me all your followers, Nikki.
Okay.
ePlat Wine on Twitter, and I'll send updates on when the wines can be made available in this market. But as Paul said, it's going to be probably mid-July.
Okay.
So
All
but
right.
I'll certainly send updates, and maybe I'll come back here and talk about it.
Well, a good
Okay.
thing to do would be to let the readers of the list know too.
So, well, we've already discussed that. We're way ahead of you.
Good. I'm
We're in
just,
good
you know,
shape.
I'm aggressively
I
avaricious.
think I'm going to be
you know
doing
that.
a blog for you, right?
Yeah, and you're going to
In
do
the
it
fall.
fast. Yes, exactly.
cool.
So let me ask you guys. So you brought in a lot of whites today, and you have the one red. Are you diversifying your portfolio? Will be a lot of reds and whites, or are you looking to focus on a single thing here? What would you say is the overall focus?
It's diversifying, but it's showing you the best. It's showing the US the best of what we do.
Okay.
So we'll have Pinot Noir, we'll have Riesling, a little bit of Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc, and even some Bordeaux blends from the warmer regions in the Hawke's Bay.
Really?
So Cabernet Sauvignon, Merlot, Cabernet Franc, things like that. So we'll kick off with about 20 different wine styles,
Okay.
and then grow from there. Yeah.
Well, when you were at Heart's Delight yesterday, what were you pouring?
We were pouring Pinot Noir, Sauvignon Blanc, and Riesling, and the Crackling Savvy. And the Crackling Savvy has had an amazing reception across the country.
I bet.
And I guess before we start with the next wine, it's worth talking about sustainability. Barton was very interesting hearing him talk about sustainability. And it's worth noting that every one of our wineries is certified sustainable.
And what
So
does that
every
mean
wine
for
we're
wine?
bringing in-
So now we got fish and we got food. So for wine, what does sustainable mean?
It's all about vineyard practices.
Okay.
And it's all about spray programs and, ensuring that spray programs are used sustainably. It's all about soil management. And our wine growers industry body has said in 2012, if you're not certified sustainable, you can't be a member. That's exciting for
Guys, I'm going to have to jump in because this hour goes quickly. But
we got to go.
I want to thank Eric Platt and Paul Cauldry from Pacific Prime Wines of New Zealand. And pretty soon you'll be able to try all of these great wines that we've just tried. And guys, good luck. I loved everything I tasted.
Okay, so as we do on every show, we like to point out a specific charity. And given the fact that we had Barton Seaver in today, we thought this was a great one.
Well, seafoodchoices.org is the thing to remember. Seafood Choices Alliance is an international program that provides leadership and creates opportunities for change across the seafood industry and ocean conservation communities. And I'm not reading. I happen to know this.
Okay.
They help the seafood industry from fishermen to fish farmers to processors and distributors make seafood better for you and make the seafood marketplace environmentally and socially sustainable, which is important. So it's seafoodchoices.org. Go there.
And as we do on every show, we like to leave you with a little quote.
I found a quote. I have no idea what this means, but it's relevant to fish. W.C. Fields, who was drunk most of the time.
Well, maybe that's why it doesn't make
any sense. And maybe
any
it was
sense.
more than drunk. Said, remember, a dead fish can float downstream, but it takes a live one to swim upstream. No idea what that means, but I liked it.
Silly.
So we want to thank our guests, Nick
Please do.
Stefanelli, Craig Rogers, Barton Seaver, Devon Capilli, Eric Platt, and Paul Cauldry for joining us today.
And I want to talk about who's coming in next week. We have just a tiny bit of time. We have Blue Duck Tavern's executive chef Brian McBride and his guest, Brian Huston, who is the chef de cuisine at Publican in Chicago.
We just ate there, and it was
It was
awesome.
delicious. And they'll be talking about the Masters of Food and Wine, the culinary weekend going on at the Park Hyatt. And Fabio Trabocchi is in next week talking about his latest restaurant, Fiola.
Benvenuto Fabio. Okay, that's Foodie and the Beast. You can hear us again live next Sunday at 11, right here on 1500 and 820 a.m. Have a great week, boys.
Have a delicious week.